Hey, man, I'd like to thank y'all for joining in here. Okay, now just so you know, I do have your microphones muted, and if you got a question, just go ahead and type it in. It'll pop right up to me, and that way we can get through this pretty quick. Okay. Now, what I've got here is a file that was taken from the internet. Somebody that follows me on Twitter wanted me to come up and look at one of their files, and I actually downloaded it to my iPhone, and I couldn't hear it, and this is why. Now, all I've done is just analyze this particular track, and you can see it's coming in at a negative 35.3 LUFS. The loudness range is a 12.6, and the true peak is a negative 7.1. Now, this is what I do. The first thing I do when I come in is I look at this waveform, and I can tell automatically that something in here, somebody's either laughing, they're coughing, sneezing, something, because it just peaks up. So what I do is I simply put my cursor right here, and I'm going to hit the M key. And as you can see right up here, it puts a marker up. And this way, as I widen it out, it just makes a real quick reference point for me to sit here and be able to listen to it. Now, depending on this, I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this very well, but please do not adjust your volume up, because I am going to go through this real quick. I'm going to cut these out as I bring this up to the proper level, and that way we can look at it. Okay, so I'm simply going to come down here, and I'm going to right mouse click, and I'm going to normalize this to a negative 14.2. And there's a reason for this, and I'll explain it to you later. Okay, now at this point, I'm going to listen to this. I've got my headphones on, and I'm going to see what's going on right here.
Well, that's really good. That's a really good explanation. Okay.
Okay, and that's somebody laughing is what that is. So I'm simply going to come up here, and I'm going to tone this down right here at these peaks. Now, there's several ways to do it. I'm simply going to do it the quick way. I'm going to hit the S key and split it. And I'm simply going to take it and drop it over like such. And I can go either side. Okay. And we'll grab it. And all I'm trying to do is make this waveform now look about the same height as everything else. Like I said, right now, I simply want to trim all this down. So see, now if I come over here to my markers, it just lets me come in real quick. And that's what I'm going to do here. Okay. So just give me a second. Hey, Bill, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, man, thanks for the question. A lot of times, when you have your input levels, it absolutely, you have to start here. Okay. Because if you do it wrong, if you start off wrong, you're going to finish up wrong. It's just the way that it is with audio. Okay. Now I'm just going to listen to this because I know there's some coughs in here.
Finish.
And that's what that is right there. That is actually a cough. So I'm going to come over here to the left and make sure that I have my ripple editing engaged. And that way I'm going to hit the S key now. The S key, I'm going to delete this, and that's going to bring the track right back over to where it should be. And then I simply come back down and check the other markers. And there's another one. That's another cough.
The beauty of it using.
Just check that one again. Now, I'm not going to go through and pull the ums and the this and the that's out.
He made these.
Okay, that's a cough.
He made these statements. He made these statements.
And what I'm doing now, guys, I'm just getting real close to where that just, blends right back in with itself. And then here we are at the last shot. Okay. I think we may have one more over here. No, we got that one. So now we're rendered up here. Now look at the true peak. Okay. Our range is still a 12.6. Our true peak is a 14.0. And I can calm every bit of this down. I mean, I can put a true peak limiter on here. I can do whatever I want to with it. But the first thing I'm going to do is separate these sections of the track. Okay. Let me go ahead and bring up a meter just so we can kind of sit here and watch it as we go. Now, this is a new meter right here, guys, that I just downloaded. It's a free meter. And we don't actually need this anymore. So I'm just going to, I'll go ahead and get rid of it. We don't need it. Because it's going to show me where this is going to change, even though I can see it. But I just want to show you how I do it.
What makes a successful entrepreneur? And also, is entrepreneurship something you can really teach? Without further ado.
Okay, you see how all this is peeking out right here? So what I'm going to do now at this point is I'm simply going to add a peak limiter to it. Now, I can also use a hard limiter if I didn't want to come down here and have to adjust it and play with it. But I'm going to tell you right now, right off the bat, I'm going to throw this thing up here around 20 and just see what that does for me.
What makes a successful entrepreneur? And also, is entrepreneurship something you can...
Okay, that's coming in around as a negative 0.1. That's what I want. Okay, I just don't want to have it peaking as I'm sitting here listening to it.
Without further ado, here's Professor Parade.
Okay, so we're going to go here. Now, there's his intro. It's gone. I'm going to split this track. I can just get that out of the way. I'm simply going to drag it down. And I know his outro is probably going to start somewhere in this area. I can tell by the waveform.
But you welcome.
Really appreciate it.
It was my pleasure.
Okay, and there we are. So I'm going to split the track here, and I'm just going to pull this down now. So now I've got two things that I can sit here and adjust and look at. So now we'll bring our loudness meter back up. And I'm going to get rid of this. And now I'm simply going to highlight, control key, highlight, and analyze both these tracks. Okay. Now, why this is doing this, Jan, I appreciate your question. And it's not hard to answer, but this is typically it. Either somebody gave you very bad advice, or you didn't do your homework before you went out and purchased it. And this was her question, that she bought a very nice mic. She paid a lot of money for it. It is a dynamic. And yet when she goes to use it, she cannot get up into that proper range between a -6 and a -12 dBs. Well, you honestly only have one option. You're going to have to sit there and invest in a preamp, and they're not cheap. And the reason being is that you want to have the clean gain input, and there's a big difference. Okay, now most USB interfaces, all of this is built in, but they only go so high as far as the dBs that they can add to your microphone. And if I'm not mistaken, your particular mic takes somewhere around 70 dBs to operate it properly within that range. So if you're trying to use a small soundboard, or something that's a USB interface like my Elias 8 channel, it's a great interface. Okay, it only does 2 channels, but it only supplies 30 dBs of gain, and there's no way that I could operate your mic off this board. Okay, so what I'll do is I've got your email address, and it's going to come to me, and I'll send you a link to what you really need to go down and look at, and it's probably going to start somewhere around probably $100, maybe $200, depending on what your budget is. Okay. I know you hate to hear it, but in the same token, you've got a high dollar mic now that you can't use. It's like owning a boat. A boat stands for bust out another 1,000. And that's the way your audio gear can get. Okay. So this thing's just about finished. And when it does, we're going to go ahead and put it back together. Now, I want you to notice, there's several things you're going to notice. Number one, the guy that recorded this, he's off mic. You can hear him interviewing. And apparently the person he was interviewing was the one holding the mic, because you can hear him in the background, when he asks his questions. you're going to hear a lot of static or background noise that's actually been embedded into the audio. Now, he did have a gate. He did go up and try and clean it up with a gate, but a gate will not take it out of embedded audio. Okay? Especially if you turn this gate on as you're recording. And you guys heard me say many, many times, unless you truly know what you're doing, you don't ever use any pre-FX as you are recording. Okay? So I think I mentioned the clock. You're going to hear this clock just, I think they were sitting right underneath it because you can just hear every time it ticks. So that leads me to believe that the guy was using a condenser microphone. Now, they're in a college campus somewhere. I can hear students in the background. I believe I can hear them walking down the hall, as well as other things that are going on. Now, the noises as far as the coughing, the breaths, if you thought that they were loud before, okay, wait till you hear them here. Now, again, we're going to grab both these tracks, and I'm just going to redo them again, and I'm going to normalize them both at a negative 14.2. Now, after this finishes, guys, I'm going to be right back. For you guys that are watching live, let's go ahead and take 5, and that'll give everybody a chance to take a break, grab some water, go to the restroom, whatever you need to do. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, guys, so what I've basically done is just taken the 2 tracks, and I brought them up to the proper level, and then I rendered them at 96, and I put it in a mono file. Okay, it's just, it goes a lot faster. So I'm going to go ahead and close this, and this is going to put it back on Reaper for me. And I want you to see right down here, there's our DC offset. And Jen, you were, the question, about the plugins that I just used to do that. Well, we have the peak limiter, and then after that goes the DC filter, and you are correct, it does matter in which order you place them in. And then we simply have the audio statistics at the end. And all this plugin does is really just show us where we're at. It's it just gives you more of a fine tuning. On the True Peak, it said at 1.3. When we finish, it's actually, according to this, 1.22. And then the right's on a 1.26. It's very, very close. DC offsets here. And this is the RMS, which stands for root mean squared. Okay. And you can see right there, there's our negative 1.2 on our peak limiter. That's where it was coming in at the positive 10.4, which is reflected right over here as a positive 10.5. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and do away with these 2 tracks. And then we're just going to concentrate on the third one. And here again, this is strictly to show you the process of why it is so important to get your levels correct. And that's why I told you not to adjust your volume, when you were sitting here listening to this live, because if you do, this was just raised, I believe, like 20 dBs, maybe 22 dBs. So let's go ahead and listen to a part of the intro now. I'm going to go ahead and turn the master FX off. And this is what it sounds like now.
Hey, welcome to What Will You...
Cool is not what does it.
Now you hear right there, that's a lip smack. And I can tell it's a lip smack. You can hear it's a lip smack. Okay. Now, I'm not going to use a noise filter to try and get this out. That's not what that's used for. Okay, what I can do, here again, there's several things I can do. But I know this is where it starts, so I can simply come in here and split the track there. Split it here where it starts. Grab this. And bring that volume down to just where it'll blend in so naturally. And let's listen to it now. See, you can still hear it, no doubt. Okay, but it's not that great big presence of that lip smack. Now, if I wanted to as well, I could come in here and just totally cut it out if I was going to edit this podcast. Okay, again, that is not the purpose of it. Now, let's go ahead and listen to some more of the interview. Listen for the clock and listen for the audio, the background noise that's embedded into the audio that, you're not going to be able to remove it.
The incoming cohort of MBA students would ask the question, look, what do you want?
Can you hear the people talking in the background? Can you hear it sounds like students, somebody walking past?
Would ask the question, look, what do you want to do? What do you hope to do after this? And a large percentage, and I can't remember the number now, but it was close to 50%. Wants to be an entrepreneur. So what does it tell us? Well, what it does tell us is that the MBA schools do a great job.
Can you hear the clock ticking in the background? Everybody? Yeah, you can hear it? Cool. And that's what I was talking about earlier. Now, you see this little block right here. And if you do this long enough, you're going to know what these things mean. And a lot of times people will do a podcast and they'll come back and they'll insert some different audio into it that was not recorded during the actual recording. And that's what this is. Let's go ahead and take a listen to that.
I think that the people best qualified to teach and talk about entrepreneurship.
You see how that sounds totally different than the rest of this podcast, the interview? Listen.
But but when I finished my PhD, actually I didn't quite finish it. I just handed in the first dissertation in 1968 at Christmas time. And
you hear that clock ticking? Absolutely. Yep. Everybody's. So, the input levels, guys, you got to start there. Okay, it's just that simple. If you do not start off correctly, you are going to spend a tremendous amount of time in post-editing trying to get your podcast to where it needs to be. And it's so simple to do it beforehand. Okay, it's an audio production. You simply have to learn how to set your proper input levels. You need to be aware of your recording environment. And I'm not saying that you can't do this inside of a restaurant or you've got some background noise going on. But if you start your recording with a gate and you're going to gate out all that noise, then it's impossible for you to come back through post-production and remove that noise because you have nothing to get a profile from. All right? Anybody learn anything? Oh, cool. Thank you. Come on over, guys. yourpodcastreview.com/forum. And there's also a link up there at the main website. All right, we're going to call it a night. Y'all take care, and I hope to see you around here very, very soon. God bless, take care, and we are out of here.